Welcome to Simply Sarah. I'm Sarah Stockton, your host, and I am thankful that you are here. I'm grateful. I hope that you are having a really, really wonderful day. We want to say thank you to our sponsors, both the Stegner family and also Lamano Art. And also just so grateful for Marybeth Wilson choosing to join us in studio. Marybeth, welcome in.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm
It's
so happy to be here.
I am just so pleased that you are here. You're a financial support person, services professional with Edward Jones. You have three amazing grown daughters. You have grandkids. And something that I know that I just so find beautiful about who you are is this adventuresomeness that you have with LinkedIn wrapped completely around in kindness. I love that about you, Mary Beth.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
How did you get to where you are today?
Well, I'm kind of a little bit of a thinker. First of all, I'm in my 60s, but I feel like I'm many, many years younger. I
Mhm.
just feel like in the last 10 years or so, I've like grown backwards. Like I turned into a kid that wants to explore the world. So I'm really thrilled about that. I want to encourage people that doesn't matter how old you are, you can do what you want to do. You can explore.
What caused that transition for you to feel like, ooh, I'm now going backwards in time and feeling younger?
Mm, I guess I guess that's kind of a long story. I guess that I just feel like now in my life is so full with a community of friends and a partner I always dreamed of, satisfying career, and I live a positive and healthy lifestyle. But it always wasn't always like that.
Mhm.
When I was younger, I had some trauma, which many people do from their childhood or when they're older. And I think maybe, I don't know if you've heard this before, I think it's kind of common where people talk about, maybe being a victim and a survivor and then a thriver. I just felt like through the years that, maybe I acted in a victim mentality and then I wanted to be a survivor. And I felt how good that was, that I wanted to be a thriver. I wanted to get everything out of life that I possibly could.
I hadn't heard that before, the victim to survivor to thriver, but that just so shows the journey that one
Mhm.
can choose to be on if they want to be. And so in this space of moving from survivor into thriving, what are some things that you have noticed that are showing up in your life differently, perhaps in how you see the world, perhaps how you go through your day, that's different than it was, let's say, 35 years ago?
I mean, I think ultimately I'm the same person, but I sometimes can't even recognize myself what I was 35 years ago. I think I just lacked confidence and I had a lot of fear and I wanted to always be safe. But I think sometimes staying in that safe zone prevented me from experiencing things.
Mhm.
And I think I just got to a point where I realized that staying small and fearful wasn't serving me, that I had the choice or opportunity to um, change how I interacted in the world, and I could have these other things
Mm.
that I saw other people have or used to think never were mine.
Mhm. We met in Pentwood, Michigan. It's a beautiful little town because we were both there for a pressure free weekend and learning from Al Ingalls. And can you share a little bit about how you met Al and what your journey was into this world of pressure free?
Sure. Um, I think in the beginning of my journey, went a little more traditional. I went into therapy, which was fabulous. I encourage people to do that if that's calling them.
Uh-huh.
But after a certain point, I felt like the therapy was kind of just reiterating things, or and kept trying to figure out the answer, like why. And sometimes it's like I was kind of done with that, going over it and figured out why, and I wanted to move forward. So I was at an event at my work, and Elle came to speak,
Mm.
and I just like what she had to say. I thought, she talks about how everyone can have a beautiful life, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I want. I want a beautiful life.
Yeah.
I'm on this journey. And so then she spoke about how you can reduce your stress just by using some simple tools, easy peasy ones. You don't have to like study and just, off the cuff, one liner type things. And then she had an event with in Grand Rapids, a day event, and it had Elle came and Leela Veronica, she's changed her name. I think it's a feel good movement community now that
Yeah.
she facilitates.
Mhm.
So she came as well. So I just feel like those two together, with your mind and with Elle, and with your body with Leela. And she introduced me to other Bowspring people yoga that I do. Just those two things together, where you're taking care of your body and your mind and your soul, really, as those things come together. You know, and then I started going to other events that Elle held, retreats and activities online.
Mm. Tell me a little bit about what Bowspring yoga is. How is it different, if you know, than other types of yoga?
It's more of a healing type of movement.
Mm.
People that have injuries are often healed. I mean, my body, I remember that first time that I was at that event with Elle and Leela, like my body just was aching. And now I'm just, you know, 7 years later, sometimes I don't even feel any pain. It's kind of more of a posture alignment type of movement that teaches you how to be lighter in your movements, and it's like a lot of exercises, like people think, like they do crunches or work their arms, which is good. I'm not saying that that couldn't be done as well, but the Bowspring yoga kind of, the main theme is to kind of tone your body all around. So you're not like weak in the back or weak in the shoulder. You're toned all around. It works for me.
I love that answer. I ask because I have been working with Leela, and to me, it seems to be that we're stretching slowly the fascia.
Mhm.
Other things feel like that they are working on muscle groups. And this feels like, yes, it's about muscles, but it's also about stretching the fascia and making sure that the ligaments are taken care of as well. And I haven't been doing it long enough to be able to tell you all the differences in my body. But I was in a car accident in 2008 and had gone to the chiropractor, done all the different things that I was told to do, and just began to see as I was getting older that I was kind of beginning to lean one to one side a little bit.
Yeah.
And also just one side was just tighter, where the seatbelt held me in. And so every time I thought about it, I was always grateful for that amazing seatbelt. But also I was just aware um, that I needed a different type of alignment. And when I was introduced to Leela and she began talking about what she did and how it could help people who were in pain, I thought, this is absolutely worth investigating, worth looking into. And I, like you, talking about Bowspring yoga, there's just something different about how it stretches the body in ways to helps the body to release pain, if that's something that you can even say, release discomfort. Um,
Right. And even fatigue. I mean, I feel like in the past,
mhm.
before I did Bowspring yoga, like it was even hard to hold my head and neck up. But you get a tone in your body, and you kind of just feel your fascia holding up your bones in your body. I mean, it's a really beautiful um, movement system, both what Leela does and more traditional Bowspring. She uses a similar philosophy, but she kind of has her own
Mm,
modality specific that she kind of invented, I guess you say.
mm. That's beautiful. This is a really good place for us to take a quick break because when we start talking about L, I think that that's going to be a longer segment. So
Okay,
let's take a quick break for our, to say thank you to our sponsors. We'll be right back.
okay.
Hi, I'm Michelle. I am the founder and owner of Lamano Art. I began this business over 20 years ago. I specialize in paintings of all kinds. I make murals, portraits, and live paintings. My specialty is color and also telling a story. Some of the work that Lamano Art does are calligraphy pieces, wedding invitations, sign work, and sculptures like fairy doors. I'm open to working with anyone on any idea. Please feel free to contact me at your convenience, and I look so forward to talking to you. Thank you.
Marybeth, I'm loving this conversation. It's just so easy to talk with you, and I appreciate that about this conversation. You mentioned that about 7 years ago that Elle came to a business group that had gotten together, and she came and spoke, and then talked about how people could actually live with less stress in their life, that they could actually prevent stress hormones from flowing through their body. Can you share a little bit about what some of those tools are, and then we'll talk a little bit about, perhaps if you want to, about how it's impacted your life.
Okay. What I really like about Elle's program is because it's so simple. Like I was saying earlier, you don't have to like study it, or you just can pick up a couple little things and see how they fit. And I'd say one of the I like a lot of things about it, but one of the things that helps me a lot is a large motor movement. So, like I'll be feeling stressed or getting upset, I'll like jump or move around. And she does like a Ferris wheel that she pushes up. I kind of feel like I'd like to kind of jump around, and it like kind of tricks your mind into getting out of that mode that you're in. And I think another thing is just a lot of, you hear a lot of these things in other, over and over again, like about your self talk. But I think, like, I kind of just feel lighter when I'm talking to myself in terms of if I start going down a negative way, I'll say, oh, caught you. Or if another time I might be thinking that, I realize that I might be worrying about something, and then a term that she uses, negative fake worry. And so whenever I start worrying, I'm like, is that negative fake worry? And usually it isn't, because most of the time, you're your own worst enemy. What actually you think's going to occur in your head never happens.
Yeah.
So you're wasting time worrying about something that probably is not even going to occur.
I remember being in line to check out, and that there was stuff going on around me I was beginning to feel just like, can we get through the line faster, please? Can we just get through this? And realize that it wasn't helping anything. Because
Going in
nothing was working right. And so I just began to, I had my hand, we had a basket, and I was the one who was pushing it at that point, and just began holding on to it and then moving from side to side really, really big, just like I was stretching. but I was consciously moving the big muscles, knowing that that would help pull me back into the moment and help me to just know that all of that ruckus is outside of me and that I'm okay. I'm here. I'm in a good
Mhm.
place. It's all okay. And
That's
so,
beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah.
using those big muscles really does help the mind go, oh, I don't need to continue down this path that could be triggering into the stress response, into the fight or flight, flop or flee, any of those spaces. So thank you for sharing those. I also like how just a gentle smile can
Mhm.
absolutely change our brain, what's taking place there. It allows the dopamine to continue to flow, as Elle teaches. And then also, it keeps us present in the moment. And it can be a sarcastic smile. It doesn't have to be something that we are, faking a smile over. We can just allow the sides to go up and to be in that space of that. Go
I
ahead.
think when the smiling and the movement, it almost forces you to be lighter about the situation, and then other people around you feel lighter. Like if you start swaying in the grocery store, that someone's going to be saying, "What's that lady doing?" And you might say, "Oh, I'm just feels good to me," or whatever. You I just feel like I've had the opportunity through pressure free that I don't know, just to be able to learn about my own power, like just by how I behave affects the room or other people. I mean, it's a very powerful feeling.
It really is. And to know that we have inside of us this ability to talk to our brain and to tell our brain how we want to move forward. So we can set it. People talk about mindset, but we can set our brain in the morning. We can choose to see what our maybe list of things that we hope to accomplish over a period of a day. And we can choose also to determine how we want to feel, how we're going to show up for each of those. It's not about how the other people are going to respond. It's not about the outcome of it, but it's how do we want to feel when we show up. And that can give um, so much power into the future. One of my clients calls it positive forecasting. And
Oh, I like
great way
that.
of, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
great way of saying it, because you are looking into the future and saying, how do I want to show up? How do I want to feel when I am in these places? And that can include being in the dentist chair. It can include, giving a presentation, but how do I
Mhm.
want to feel? Yeah.
Absolutely.
When you talk about being able to change, my words, not yours, change the energy in the room, the experience that people are having, are there times where you are intentional about it? You can see for yourself that you're not stressed. You are aware that you're in a good place, but you're beginning to watch people around you, and you determine that you want to potentially shift the energy in that space. Are you sometimes doing that consciously?
Absolutely. And I mean, I think that comes down to another one of Elle's sayings about like when you walk into the room, say that you're entering in the spirit of contribution. Like, what can you contribute to that space? And what's interesting is I used to think that I had to do something in order to make that happen. But
Mhm.
I found that I don't even really need to do anything specific, except other than get myself in that calm space. And people respond to that, even without me really saying anything or doing anything. It's really kind of miraculous. When it's happened, I really am surprised every time because it's just like I said, not anything even really specific to anyone else, just my own self.
Yeah. I think about when I have been around people who have been as close to royalty as I'm going to be, whether they happen to be a chief of a tribe or somebody in that lineage, or um, somebody who has had uh, is close to a great deal of power, whatever that happens to look like. They have a way of carrying themselves so often.
That's true. Yes, I didn't ever think of that.
Yeah, and I think about when you walk into a room, Mary Beth, that you have this beautiful energy that you're just like sprinkling around on other people. And
That's so
that,
nice of you.
I don't know that you're doing it necessarily intentionally for the other people. I think that you are doing it because it's who you are. It's this de-aging, this going backwards
Mhm.
process, right? Of becoming younger and more curious and full of adventure. And knowing that your body can do that as well as you do the Bowspring yoga. In that space of being able to change. If somebody who is listening right now is interested in knowing one thing that they could do to be able to change the feeling as they walk into the room, I think you've mentioned this, the spirit of contribution. Can you share a little bit more what that possibly could look like?
Sure. Let's see. Can you repeat the question? What do you think? What would a little bit more about what it looked like if I'm trying to,
Hmm.
yeah, spirit of contribution?
Yes.
Mm, I'm not sure that I can say too much more about kind of what we already talked about. I mean, I think it's really good to ask yourself, how do you want to show up?
Mm.
And when you're walking into a room, and I'm getting better at this, not complaining.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's an important one because does bring people down and take them into a different level, and it's also waste time. I feel like that I've been able to reduce my complaining and have more time to actually get my work done and feel good about things.
Yes.
And I think I don't know. You know how it is to be around someone else who's calm. You just it calms you. So I mean, it's kind of just rubs off on the other people. And I think one of the things too about pressure free that I really enjoyed is I used to be kind of calm on the outside, but all swirly on the inside. And by using those tools, I am able to be calm outside and inside.
Mm.
And it's both the I want to say both the Bowspring yoga and orderliness movement and L's pressure free. It could be for anybody. I mean, some 80-year-olds start doing Bowspring, or L works with 70-year-olds. That it's just or little kids too. For any ages. So I think that's what I like too, is because it's all encompassing in age wise.
Mm. Mary Beth, one of the things that I think about for myself is in the past, when I would walk into the room, there might be some level of, is this a place that I'm walking into where there's going to be competition? Or is this a
Mm.
place where I just need to come in and just be there? All that's important is that I show up, and whatever that happens to look like. And and sometimes there was the, I'm going to be presenting, I'm going to be sharing something that I think is important. Perhaps other people think it's important. But that coming in with this spirit of contribution, I think, is so game changing for me, because now it takes any sense of competition or just sitting there and being a blob. It just takes
Mhm,
that
mhm,
completely
mhm.
away, right? Because now if I'm there, I am present. I am there because I have a spirit of contribution. And sometimes the spirit of contribution truly is listening. And I was going to say just listening, but listening is one of the most important things that we can do for another person or for a group. We don't need to necessarily agree. We don't need to necessarily add to the conversation, but being there, respectfully listening, and allowing people to think through their own processes, think through what they are wanting to share, can be really, really helpful for the other person. And so,
Sure.
in that space, then, of just allowing, showing up differently. So, still same person in the chair, but a whole different person in terms of how I'm showing up.
And I think it's helped me too in terms of sometimes I would go somewhere, and I would feel like did I belong there or did I fit in? And when you get that spirit of contribution, you're just contributing what it is you have. You don't have to worry that you're not enough, or
Mhm.
like that's sort of like comparing, but a little bit different. It's a more for me. It was more about you know, like I said, not feeling like I belonged or that I didn't have anything to contribute. Like I
Mhm.
said, just being there and present and listening, that's a big factor.
You just spoke words to my heart about um, that space of, what do I have to contribute? Is this really where I'm supposed to be? I had a recent experience like that, and I have been mulling it over, processing it, and I really appreciate what you said about um, if we're there and we are listening and we are being respectful and kind, we are contributing, and that is
Absolutely.
such an important piece. So thank you for helping me shift my eyes on that. That's really helpful.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Yes. I know that you have had so much going on in your life between working full time and carving out time to be with your grandkids and updating a kitchen and uh, having opportunities for adventures. How have you been able to balance all of these different pieces? If you think about, again, 35 years ago, how you did it and how you're doing it today, how are you seeing that you are doing things differently or planning things or showing up differently?
Oh gosh, in so many ways. Um, I think first of all is being able to be a little bit more in touch with my feelings. I think like 35 years ago, I would do numbing activities, whether that be TV or drugs or alcohol. And I realized that that was just a numbing factor. It wasn't actually helping in any way. And so I think just being living a healthier lifestyle and just this is hard for me still though to uh, be open to all the different kind of feelings, sad and even anger, it's a just like pain in your body, you have it for a reason. So if you're angry, you don't not doesn't mean you have to smash open the windows, but just that awareness of all my emotions, anger
Mhm.
included, is telling you something. Just being more open to feeling, basically. Um, in order to know what I want to do next.
Mhm.
And I think another thing is sometimes I feel sad for my younger person because I wish she would have known what I don't know. I guess we all say that, but you know, uh, I used to take what came to me, and then I realized that that wasn't serving me. I wanted to start being in the role of choosing. So
Mhm.
I know a lot of times you'll hear like manifesting it. And I think that's a great word and I love that. But to me, for many years, I was like manifesting in my head, but I wasn't really taking any action. So I feel like it's important to have the manifesting mindset, but you have to have the action to back it up, or at least that's how it is for me.
Mhm. I really appreciate you sharing about feeling a wider uh, vocabulary of feelings, having a being opening up the aperture for that, so that you would have feel all of the things. And
Hmm.
I know that for me, sometimes there's some feelings I still want to say thank you, but not now. But
Right.
feelings are signals for what's taking place. And if I'm listening to those signals, it helps me then to be able to move forward in a different way, or choose or not. And I really appreciate how you talked about manifesting in the mind versus making the choices. What a difference to take action on pieces of things rather than just allowing whatever's going to show up. It's almost like going through the cafeteria line as a second grader in this school in Grand Blanc, Michigan, and whatever they put on my tray was what I got for lunch. It was just, there was no asking for more. There was no saying no, thank you. It was just here it is. Here's lunch on those days that I bought. And which is why most of the time I and took my nickel with me to be able to go buy milk. And if I was there early enough, get to buy chocolate milk with my nickel. But that's the cafeteria line. That's the everybody gets the same thing. And I look around and not everybody's driving the same car, living in the same type of house. And so then I start thinking, well, how are there differences? What are the differences? And there can be so many different ways of looking at that. But I watch people who, and have read about people who have lost everything and have built right back up again. And I look at that and I go, okay, that's resilience, one.
Wow, I
There
should
has
see
to
that.
be, but there has to be something more as well. Besides it just being resilience, there has to be something more that goes with that. And what you're talking about is taking that action, seeing what you're wanting, seeing it in your mind, developing that, and then taking action. And for me, there's a space, and maybe you see this differently, but for me, there's a space of this is what I want. I'm going to take this action, but I'm opening up my hands to how it's going to show up. I'm not going to be so, in the beginning, I was so precise. It has to look like this,
Hmm.
the color, the shape, the size, everything about it. And now it's much more, that's the feeling that I want. And I'm opening up to how does that show up in my life? How does that fit for you?
I think that I've learned that as well. I mean, I had a boss a few years back, and we'd make a business plan, and then we'd go to review it, and then I kind of feel like that. I always thought that if I said something, I had to do it. And I mean, I want to be true to my word, but
Right.
we would reevaluate the business plan and he would change it up. And I'd be like, you can't change it up. He goes, yes, we can. It's because maybe what you thought 6 months ago was your thing that you wanted to do the most, or that it was going to look like this. And then as the time goes by and other factors come into play, that might not be as important as was, or what you thought it was, or it doesn't look like you thought it was going to. So now you got to change it. So I think being open to it looking different
Mm-hmm.
is an important piece.
Yeah. I was looking back at something that I had written about 9 months ago and recognized that there were some pieces on there of things that I had wanted, and those things didn't line up. And yet I had come in with that desire for it with such open hands. It was really this, if this is how it's supposed to be as a yes, or if this is how it's supposed to be as a no, I'm really okay with either of these because that decision will help me make other decisions.
There you
And
go.
so it was really, really helpful for me just to look at that and go, oh, yeah, that's literally where I was 9 months ago in this space of, I wonder how things are going to work out. And to be at this place, the answer was no. It's opened up so many more
Mm,
opportunities.
that's great.
And I'm excited about that. And so, no doesn't mean it's not for me. No just means not now. And that other things are in a good space for lining up for now. And um, I don't know if you found that in your life as well.
I think for me, it's important to realize that just because you change your trajectory doesn't mean you failed. You're just choosing something different now, or you have information that you didn't have before that's helping you make a decision that's more in alignment with you. So
Yes. And I think as we come to that space of becoming more authentically who we are, and I say that very, very gently, not at all as a condemnation, but as a we are born these beautiful, impressionable babies, and the people around us not only help us survive by feeding us and changing us and bathing and all those things, but they also, at least in my experience, have expectations or aspirations or desires that they put on babies.
true.
And
Hmm.
then school comes along and there are expectations that come along with that, in addition to, this is how you're going to grow and can you be at the top of the class and what does that look like? And who are your friends? Are you making good choices with their character? And I just wanted to play on the soccer field. I didn't really care what their character was, but let's go play ball. And all these people are making these different impacts on who we are. And so I got to, I don't know, 18, I was an adult. And I found that I began this process, and some of it was quite painful, of trying to figure out who I was. Because if I told you, everything had to do with where I fit in the tribe that I'd grown up with, or in my family, or in I could label those things for you so well. But not much of that really um, defined or shared who I am as a person. Those are just how I fit into these different groups. And
Mhm.
so that space of finding who you are, of discovering, of for you, of how adventurous you are, and trying new things and seeking out new, and allowing those things to touch your heart, and for you to be present in those moments with that. And for me, it's um, along some of those lines. Today, I had shared before we began recording that I had gone to 3 different shops that I had seen before. We've been here for almost 2 years, and I had just never gone in. And I thought, I have a day where I don't have anything else that's on the schedule that I have to do in these different blocks of time, and I'm just going to try these places. And one of them was because Costco didn't have what I wanted. I was just so surprised. No mangoes? How can this be? We've had mangoes every single time we've gone. And so stopped at a place called Fresh Market, and it was this amazing experience. And they had mangoes, and they were beautiful. And just the opening up. I will share the second place that I went was a farmer's co-op, and it didn't have anything at all of what been told by multiple people that it would have. So that was a pretty easy place to walk out of. And then the third place was a place that sells knickknacks and stuff that's 60 years old, and some of it's older than that.
Ooh,
I've been looking for a very specific bud vase that was made from a company in Indiana years ago. So I just thought I'd just walk through
fine,
and
fun.
find it.
Yeah.
Yes. So it was very fun. Didn't find my bud vase, but it was just fun to go in and walk and see and remember things as you look at older things and go, oh yeah, we used to have one of those, or I remember our neighbors who had that kind of thing. So for me, the adventure has been a little bit closer in terms of just kind of feeling where I am and discovering some of the pieces that are here. When you talk about adventures, Mary Beth, what are some of your favorite things to look for?
Look for when I am
For an
out
adventure?
and about, or oh, in an adventure.
Yes.
I just like to try new things because so many times I didn't do things that So even as like I'm trying to think, I try to make up ideas, things that I want to do, and then I
Mhm.
kind of make a plan. Like let's say I want to travel, and I'll pick like 3 or 4 places, or I want to go to a theater production. I want to go to 3 of them. So one of the things I do is I'm try 3 or 4 new things a year. And
Mm.
so like last year I did I've never been horseback riding or rock climbing. I don't know, I just like to try something new, and I feel like that almost everything can be enjoyable because it's an experience. Maybe I'm probably not going to go on a horse again ever again. It was interesting and I enjoyed it, but so I guess um, I don't know. I just think I'd like to try new things, and just and find out what the day brings. I find that I can have an adventure just going to Horrocks, just something simple. Yeah.
Do you find that you're also adventurous about the foods that you want to try, or is it more about experiences that are not necessarily culinary experiences?
Oh, I'm pretty open to food too, different kind of foods. I feel like I just feel like that I opened up and just want to experience more life because I did it in the past. So I feel like I'm open to anything. Like,
Mm.
and I think it's good. One of the things that's so supportive to me is being in a community.
Mhm.
I think that that was one of the things I wanted to try to do because I didn't have that many friends really. And so I tried to like go to activities that you hear people say, well, go somewhere, like to where, like, let's say you like astronomy, so you go to the astronomy class and you do the event, and that was really fun and I enjoyed it. But I found that since it wasn't repetitive, you didn't get to meet the same people over and over. So I would think that the adventure can grow in more of like a where you see someone over and over, like at a spice club or a book club, or something, being in a theater production where you repeat, where you're seeing those people. You can get more acquainted with them and build bigger relationships rather than just seeing them one time.
I love that. I was part of a book club for years when we were in Southern California, and you are right about getting to know people better when you have more opportunities. And not everybody came every time because there were lots of people who traveled internationally. And so that just impacted if they were in town or not. And yet, that getting to sit across the table or around the table with different people over a period of time was really a remarkable experience of hearing people's stories, hearing about their life, but also having the commonality of a book, right? The commonality, as you talked about, of learning a play together, being in theater together, learning your lines in those different spaces, and knowing that when you're on stage, that is you're acting in that capacity, but behind stage, off stage, that there is this whole other uh, family community that grows, between the people who are building the sets and the people who are
Yes.
the makeup artists and the people who are doing the clothing, all of that. It becomes really quite truly a production, but a family grows in that process of that. Have you been in a play?
My daughter was in a lot of plays, and I was in a plays like when I was in high school. But
Uh-huh.
then she moved out, and I always wanted to be in it. But I was raising three girls, and I was working. So this not last year, but the year before that, our community does the Nutcracker every other year,
Yes.
and they do it with a narrator. So I tried out for the narrator. So I was the narrator of the Nutcracker, not this fall, but last fall. And they do it every 2 years. I'm going to do it again. Because
Good. Good. I'm so glad that you're going to. That's a beautiful experience. If
and
some,
maybe I'll try some other things, plays, maybe an acting thing. I don't know. That's a little bit more out of my comfort zone. But
but I can see you doing it.
yeah,
Yeah, you're pressure free. I can see you.
exactly. Exactly.
And when they cast you for a part, Mary Beth, you do have the right to say no, thank you. That's not the part that I want to do, right? So yeah, it could be a very fun thing. If you happen to do it, let me know when. Invite
Okay.
me to
Okay.
watch. Yes. In the space of creativity, what are some things for people who are sitting at a desk job most of the day, who are looking to try something that would be creative in nature, but possibly have some movement to it? Are there some ideas that you could share, that things that you've come across in your looking at life and figuring out how to do your desk job? It's primarily a desk, definitely interacting beautifully with people, but the desire to get up and go and do things that are a little bit more creative in nature.
I think it's helpful to be playful, because I think that, like when, even sometimes when I'm just with my friends, or particularly when with my grandkids, like just skipping, or like doing little short runs or something. I think too, like maybe like I said, I like to jump when I'm at work. Like sometimes if I feel like a lot of people are, I know that there are big events happening and people are feeling a little stressed. I'll say, you know, I'm going to challenge you today. Does anybody want to join in to do jump 100 times today? You know what I mean? So then we'll do, like, we have teams messaging between us. We'll say, it's 10 o'clock. Do you have at least 20 jumps in? Because we only got, and so just gets people moving and
Mm.
light. And I think it's important too for people to find a movement that they enjoy, because like if you just feel like you have to do it and you're trudging through it, I'm not really sure it's that helpful. Like, so let's say you don't like to jog, maybe you like to swim or do yoga or some type of activity, that jump rope, finding what speaks to you, I think, is an important part too.
I was so delighted that during the retreat with Al, that every sunset, that whatever we were doing, we would have to stop in time for us to go and watch the sunset. And I think it's Lake Michigan there, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And we were so far north, I was so surprised at how late the sunset. The further north you go, it's in the wintertime, it's going to be dark longer, but that opposite of that is in the summertime, it's going to be lighter longer. And I knew that, but hadn't experienced it for so long. And how absolutely beautiful to have that community experience. And in June, it was still cold. I would imagine in August, it would still be cold because the water is, cools the breeze as it comes off the lake. But those community experiences also, how helpful those can be to build community. That just so good.
Absolutely.
Yes. If you were going to give some advice to somebody who is similar to the person that you were 35 years ago, what advice would you give them about opening up to the world of who you are now?
Mm. I'm going to see if I have something that I want to say about that.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I think that it's a confidence thing, partly, but I think that we see people do extraordinary people all over the world all the time, and
Yes.
I feel like that I'm just like a normal person, but I can do extraordinary things, and I feel like everybody can do extraordinary things. I mean, I know it seems so simple, but I think one of the keys is really, it's simple but difficult, is to figure out what it is that you want
Mm-hmm.
and then make a plan to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, you and me and everyone in your audience, can do extraordinary things. Start small. Just, even I remember, like, I didn't know how to meditate. Meditate for 60 seconds. You're trying to get an exercise. Take a walk 5 minutes. You know what I mean? It just gets you in a trajectory where, you feel more confident because you were successful, and then you want to do more of it. I guess just believe in yourself and know that you're an extraordinary person too, really, is
Yeah.
what I would say.
Mm. I really appreciate that space of confidence and gifting that to the younger version. And what a beautiful advice to somebody who may be listening in, who is looking at their life and, wanting it to be different, wanting it to be better, wanting to have some of the vibrato, if I can use that word, uh, for what life can look like, as people can become younger in spirit and attitude and how they see the world as they chronologically get older. That is such a beautiful thing. Marybeth, you had asked for me to send questions to you that I typically ask, and I have not been good at all at sticking to those questions tonight. I've allowed the conversation to meander, and you have prepared. I would love for you to share some of your thoughts about things that you have invested time and energy and things that you would love to share. So feel free to pick up your phone, look at your notes, however you want to do that, because I have gone off the script.
Oh, no trouble at all. I mean, I think it was in line though. I mean, it your questions helped me prepare.
Good.
Just just use your resources in community and books and podcasts and uh, keep don't give up. I mean, because everybody's and I see that my sun is setting, and so it didn't. I didn't realize that was going to happen when with
It's okay. We're
yeah,
good.
yeah. If one thing doesn't work for you, just because it worked for somebody else, try something else. I think a lot of times people will try something and it doesn't work for them and they give up. Let's
Mhm.
for example, I mentioned exercise, but um, like for your health, like let's say you go to your traditional doctor and you're not getting the answers, you try chiropractor or massage or Reiki or pelvic floor therapy or just keep it on until you find what works for you. I think people um, think of it as a cookie cutter way, or that
Mhm.
because they did it that way that's for them, but not necessarily. I think it's important for people to find their own way, their own what there's so much power in being excited. So find out what you're excited about, and the power will propel you to do whatever it is that you want to do.
And if the people around you aren't excited for your excitement, that's their opinion. Your
Right?
excitement is you. It's where you are and what you are taking in and what you are sensing, and to move forward with that. Oh, that's such great advice. Do you have more? These are beautiful nuggets.
Let's see. Kind of a little bit like what you said about um, it's sort of what other people think with the boundaries is kind of related. Like I think I learned through this process that to have better boundaries, that the other person might be disappointed, but I'm thinking of myself, and then ultimately, if I'm in a better space, that helps everybody. This person might be disappointed at first,
Yeah.
but um, it's really it seems selfish if you're not used to doing that, but really when you're taking care of yourself, you're taking care of everyone. So I think it's important to think about
Mm.
where what's comfortable for you is
Yeah.
what.
American philosopher Jim Rohn used to say, I will take care of me for you
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
if if you will take care of you for me.
Oh, there's the other half.
There's
Me.
the other half, yes. And I have pondered that at different times about how important that is, for us to be caring for ourselves. So much about what we talk about on Simply Sarah is these spaces of resilience, or these difficult things that have happened that people overcome. You talked about the ways that you had numbed in the past and chose to say, wait, that's not getting me where I want to go, and making some really big life choices and changes in there. And so that space then moves you into a different place. And so often I do find that we have these conversations that at some point at least touch on the take care of you, because no one else is going to do that for you the way that you want it to be done. And only you can do that. And so that's so, so good. Well,
Yeah.
as the sun is beginning to set where you are, I would love for you to reiterate anything that you want our listeners just to leave with, friend.
Well, and I think too about what you were saying is, and I think it slipped my mind. Mm, what was the last thing you said about taking care of yourself?
I will take care of me for you if you take care of you for me. Jim Rohn.
I think I'm going to have to let that go, Sarah. But
Okay.
yeah. um, let's see. I guess just in closing, I kind of said pretty much what I want to say, but I think the main thing, and I already touched upon it a little bit, I think, is making a plan.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen unless you do it. And take it slow,
Mm.
do it your own way.
That is so good. Marybeth, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your wisdom and your time and your enthusiasm for life.
Well, thank you so much for letting me share part of my story. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And to our audience, we say thank you so much for being here and listening to the end, taking in these nuggets, seeing how they can help you move forward for your best life. And in this space, take good care of you. And I am looking for our exit and it moved. Here's our outro.